Hi, everybody. Welcome back. She says and then looks away. Why does she do that? Why does she do that? Here's what happens. I say, hi, everybody. Welcome back. And then there's a thing down there I'm supposed to click that says, hi, everyone. Welcome back. So I apologize for being abrupt. Cheers. Oh, warm beverage on throat. Awesome. I know people, I know two people who have never learned to like warm beverages. As children, I suppose. Maybe the first one we had was hot. So they don't like soup and they don't like broth, not soup. They don't like juice. They don't like anything if it's hot. Why would juice be hot? They don't like anything liquid that's hot. They like it cold. I like both, especially with a sore throat. Awesome. Now then, I'm dithering. My name is Abby Haggard, and for those of you who have just accidentally stumbled on this, I was on television for a while, and then I was a Care Bear for a while, and then I was a bunch of other creatures of uncertain origin, and provided the voices. And then, as often happens in show business, the bottom fell out of all the productions that were happening all at once, and you wake up on a given Wednesday, and all there are going outside the house are crickets. Rit it, and there's no work. There's no work, and then you do something else. So what I did something else of was I became a publisher, because all show business is a variety of ways of telling a story. All conversation, all communication is a way of telling a story, is a way of connecting. And the thing that is very interesting about being a publisher, and I was a boutique publisher, not like Random House. My kind of publisher was basically, here, let me walk you through the pitfalls, sort of a mentor publisher. And what I loved about that work was the opportunity to hear other people's stories and then help them figure out how they wanted to say them with the most impact that would capture the imagination and make people sit up and say, oh, what's that? Because of course it's great to write a book. You sort of want people to read it and you sort of want them to like it. So I did that for quite a long time. In fact, this year is my 20th anniversary as publisher. Very exciting. So in and amongst that celebration, I have been working for almost 7 years now on a project that began as a curiosity in the middle of COVID. I'm a military kid, and we traveled a lot. And uncertainty, as in you come home from school and there's boxes in the living room, was normal. Knowing that I was always going to be going to school tomorrow was never normal for me, never, ever in the cards. So as a result, when for the first time, pretty much everybody everywhere was dealing with the uncertainty of a pandemic. Can we go out? Should we stay in? Do we wear a mask? Do we not? Can we be this close, that far? And the rules felt like they were changing every day. And, in an abundance of caution, right or wrong, decisions were made that people should self-isolate. The sad part of that is that it went on for so long. And what we all ended up experiencing was the equivalent of solitary confinement, which doesn't bode well for mental health. It's done to prisoners to teach them a lesson. It's not done to families, to school-age kids, to our relatives, to our friends. And so we lost something very important. We lost the automatic outreach for the hug. And whether it's, I don't like to be touched, whether it's a physical hug or it's a verbal or a visual hug, a metaphorical hug, a vicarious hug, we are a species that thrives on closeness. We thrive on the closeness because it's safe, because we're not a very strong species. We think we're strong, but we're not so strong. And so we need strength in numbers. Strength in numbers happens when everybody decides to go along to get along. That only happens when you have enough time to get to know each other and develop a sense of predictability, sometimes referred to as trust. And if we're all on the same page and we all want to get to the same place, then it's likely that we will get there safer and faster together. And so knowing that, what I started to develop was a concept, a reset, a way of reminding people how we get back to that when we get off track. How, you can wander down a path and then say, where is everybody? And then try to find your way back to the group. And in and amongst the COVID scenario, for a couple of decades before that, and I know it's now sounding like a long time ago, but for several decades before COVID, actually, something happened to the way we live in our communities. And it was a product of the way technology, industrial revolution, expansion, growth, tools created a need for people to be more transient, to be able to move, to be able to shift gears, go further places, be more like military. And that pretty much put an end to the idea of living in close proximity to mom, dad, buddy, sis, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, and the cousins. And for a person like me, I was an only child, and we were always on the move. I saw my immediate family maybe once every 10 years. My immediate family was all located on the west coast of Canada. And when my dad joined the military and met my mom, and they decided to forge a life together, the last place we lived in the West, I was 5. And it's been a while. I've been back, but not often enough to feel like I just left. Not often enough to remember street names. Not often enough to say, hey, let's go down to so-and-so. I always love the way they. So I have become a stranger in what my home would have been. My adoptive home is where I am now, Ottawa, Canada. Why is kind of a quirk of the military. If you're in the military, you almost always end up spending time in the capital city of Canada. And especially if your dad is not flying, but he's a desk pilot, because this is where everybody at some point has to gather. And if you're working in a certain area of the military, you sometimes come back repeatedly. So there's a lot of people you can see on rinse and repeat if you stay in Ottawa long enough. So I came back to Ottawa several times because it was the last place I was where I knew the names of streets. I went to 2 different schools, but they were across the road from each other. So last year of grade school, first year of high school, and then gone. And so, but it felt like an anchor place. It felt like an anchor point. And so anytime I drive anywhere near those streets, I feel a little bit of nostalgia. I kind of want to go and see if my house is still there. It's one of the few places where I know where my house is. That's one of the quirks of being a military kid. You have no idea where your current house is for at least the first year, and then you're moving. So the conversation today, in the wake of Remembrance Day, which is a very special, special time for me, for all the reasons, is that I want to talk about family. And I don't mean mom, dad, buddy, and sis. I mean family. And I want to talk about it for a particular reason. Good morning, Maggie. Good morning, Freddie. Thank you. That's so sweet of you. Here's the thing about family. We can't pick our family unless we decide to grow one, unless we decide to create one, unless we build a surrogate family, right? And we have all built surrogate families. I, for example, for quite a few people, have been a surrogate mom for for a long time, which came as a huge surprise to me in the first few years. And then when I came back to Ottawa, the resurgence of interest in our work and my show and my character, a second big surprise, and very grateful to receive it, I can tell you. So, as Freddie said, happy birthday, Eve. So today being Thursday, we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Sunday, I've created a virtual birthday, a vicarious birthday. And Freddie is amazing. He remembers all the best details. So my birthday is April 16th, and I usually start promoting it in the middle of March because, Aries girls are like that. And I decided this year, because it's my 20th anniversary as a publisher, and because my TV husband, Les Lai, would have his birthday next week, and it would be my dad's birthday next week, I decided that this coming Sunday would be the day that I would launch this project. The birth, finally. So I feel like I'm an elephant. The birth of this concept I call Pivotry in Motion. The birth of this process I call the lion effect. The birth of our discovery that we experience life-changing first seed Milo moments that change the game forever. And all the work, all the research, all the interviews, all the discussions, all the discoveries over these 7 years have made me realize the subject today is huge and getting huger. And that is, we need the human touch. We are incomplete without the human touch. We don't entirely feel safe. We don't feel that we have achieved sanctuary. We don't feel entirely anchored. We don't feel connected. We don't feel directed. We are drifting, rudderless, no compass, like a Viking ship lost at sea in a fog. We don't have the instincts trained. We don't have the tools honed, and we don't have the inner knowing that we're okay unless we connect human to human, unless we see with our own eyes that when we look at them, we are seeing the version of us that shows up when they come. We are seeing a whole new side of us through them. And if we don't connect, all we see is the one we are in this moment. And so many times, I was talking to my partner the other day, my producer, Gary was saying he likes his solitude. And I said, so do I. I don't get anything done unless I'm by myself, getting the creative stuff out of my head and out of the page. And I said, but solitude is one thing. And sending ourselves to our room for some perceived failing, that's not the same thing. And a lot of us are doing too much of it. And the other thing that we have, I think, misdiagnosed, I was thinking about it this morning, and I meant to talk to Maggie about it during our conversation. I'm talking to you now. I'll tell you now. These little devices that we are saying are diminishing our capacity for focus and are causing us a lot of procrastination and are contributing to our lack of productivity and our exhaustion and our shame. I don't think that's wrong. I think all of those things are probably very correct. However, I know another thing that these little devices do. And I think if we're going to talk about the don'ts, as in not good for us. I think we need to talk about the do, the thing that is good for us. And that is that we all have the ability to shift gears out of do more, be more, get more, go more. And we have the ability to shift out of that into take care of us, focus on us, do the internal work, set our sights, plan our priorities. What we forget is that it's difficult to make that shift. It's difficult to shift from looking that way to looking this way and looking that way. And I introduced Maggie to a really annoying game that shows you how difficult it is to do that. It's fun, but it's a little frustrating. And what we didn't talk about last night, which is very important, is that we all have the capacity. We don't necessarily have the practice put in. We all have the capacity to achieve a mental state that is called flow. And flow is when no externals disrupt us, when we are locked in and we are focused on the now. We are in the zone. You watch professional athletes, you see surgeons, you see soldiers, you see people finally focused on something intricate. That's flow. When I'm deep in writing, deep in creating, somebody has to actually tap me on the shoulder. It isn't enough to call my name. If I'm down in that rabbit hole, I'm gone. And when somebody does that, they tap me on the shoulder and I jump 37 feet in the air and say, gee, why didn't you say something? I did for 10 minutes. You're not here. Flow is the place we go to connect with our creative processes, to dive into how we do, not what we do, but to allow ourselves to be the doing. Great story explaining this process by the fellow who came up with the term flow was that when he was a little boy, he lived in Poland during the Second World War. And Poland got royally bombed every other minute. And his grandfather taught him how to play chess. His grandfather was very good at the game, so the little boy was fascinated and tried to figure out how he could beat his grandfather. And his grandfather would set up the board and set up the pieces when there was an air raid alarm that there was going to be a bombing, because he knew that if he and his grandson were focused on the game, the terror of the noise, the droning of the airplanes and the whistling of the bombs and the explosions would not filter through. He would be in this kind of safe bubble. And so this chap was saying in his TED talk that he came through the war less traumatized than many of the kids his age and most of the adults, because he was in another space. And this is what I think we can actually give ourselves permission to allow these devices to do. If instead of saying, I had nothing better to do, so I just scrolled for an hour, if we say, while I'm on the bus, while I'm waiting for the egg to boil, set the timer, it's 3 minutes. I'm going to give myself 3 minutes to float, to get into the state of flow and just scroll. Not answer, not engage, not allow myself to be sucked into a debate. Just scroll. Allow myself to enjoy the visual of the words and the images. What is that? Well, if you've been high octane busy, that is neutral. We shift from one gear to the other gear. The only way we get there is if we go through neutral. And what Maggie and I were talking about was too many interruptions. We don't realize how much time and attention they take away from us, and they rob from us. And we end up feeling so anxious and so overwhelmed, and we are unable to give 100%. And so that threatens our focus. It threatens our feeling of safety and sanctuary, and it threatens our self-image. and we start beating ourselves up. We start looking for ways to survive this, and we try too hard and we push too hard, and we never really get back to flow. And we never really give ourselves permission to say, you know, I love this, because we're going too fast. So this may, in fact, if we can ride herd on it, if we can put walls around our moments with it, I think actually it is an opportunity to give ourselves an exit strategy. The other one, you turn 53 tomorrow, Freddie. Well, well, well. Happy birthday, Eve. That's what you meant. You see, Freddie is so patient with me. He says something that's perfectly clear, and I miss it by a mile, and then he comes back and says, hello, hello. This is me jumping from thought to thought without the pause. See, Freddie, it's a perfect example of this. So one of the things that I have showed all of you that can be a help in the switching of gears is a little exercise that I call the 30-second breathing technique, the 5-finger breathing technique, and I'll show it to you. You start with one hand, it doesn't matter which one, and you separate your fingers, and you use the index finger of your other hand, and very slowly, very gently, you just trace the outline of your fingers. The reason you do it slowly and gently is so that you can focus on what it feels like, not just the doing, but the sensation of your finger on your other hand, because it's not a thing we do often. And when you're done one hand, you do the other. And again, not fast and not repeatedly. It's not a Hail Mary. It's not worry beads. This is just a very slow and gentle and gradual way of giving yourself permission to not think about the thing you were doing or the thing you're about to do. That's your interlude. That's your neutral. Shifting out of one into the other through the break between. So why am I saying we need to do that? Because the break between is where we live. The action we do is a skill we have. The creativity that we tap into to produce solutions and fresh outcomes is a very intrinsic part of our human capacity for invention and originality. It is also something we do. Pausing to give ourselves time to not think about that, to not plan for that, to not regret the other. Giving ourselves time to be here now. And especially when we do this, this is the human touch. This is what separates us from our stuff. This is what gives us a chance to say, oh yeah, I remember me. How have you been? Because here's what's happening. When you go on social media, it's exhausting. Yes, it is. When you go on social media, when you go on any of the platforms, when you listen to the radio or watch TV, and what they offer to you is music or interviews or scientific updates or fascinating pictures or funny stories or the latest events happening all over the world. This is our opportunity to learn long distance. A long time ago, if you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to make a plan to meet at the crossroads, and you had to get all your stuff, all your supplies, all your gear, and you had to saddle up your horse or get out your canoe or climb into your boat and go there to the place we met last time. See you next year. Because it was a 10-day march. It was a 2-week ride. It was a month on the ocean. It was hours and hours and hours up in the sky. Don't get me started about baggage. So it was a big deal to get together. Now we can get together instantly. And some of us have lost sight of the fact that there's a magic in getting together. You know, when I talk to somebody and I use a video camera to have that conversation, I am as close as I possibly can be to a real face-to-face. I can't feel their energy. We can't actually reach out, shove each shoulder, give each other a high five or a hug, but we're close. And it's hugely important because we can look each other in the eye and we can hear the shift in tone and we can see the sagging shoulders or the uplift energy. And we can say, what the hell have you done to your hair? And we can talk about, I made this. What do you think? Was there a picture in the recipe book? Oh, shut up. I did my best. And we can have that human touch. And when we choose to do it with the people we have chosen, not the people who were thrust upon us, but the people we have chosen, it's magic. When we choose to do it with the people who complete a part of us, it's impossible to put into words because it is tactile, because it brings tears, because it creates that trigger that allows us to sigh, that deep sigh that might have a catch in it. You know, when I went to the Remembrance Day ceremony on the 11th with my business partner, Gary, he's ex-military and I'm ex-military. And we joined the crowd of people like us. And there we were, watching and listening and sharing the moments side by side. I have thank you, Michael. I have a couple of difficult moments during the ceremony because in Ottawa, in the capital city, it's a big deal. It's a big deal everywhere, but it's a big deal in Ottawa. Yeah, there's certain moments when you hear certain music and you see certain planes and you hear the sounds and there is singing and then you hear the marching, you hear the drum beat, and all of a sudden there is this experience. See, it's this rush from the ground through your feet, every molecule tingling, because it's a connection to the past, mine, my family, my legacy, and the shared ripple effects, the collateral assets of every single person with me, hundreds of thousands of people. And there's a big screen and they're showing while they're watching us, while we're seeing us, they're also cutting away to ceremonies all over our country. And the energy field is massive. It's almost dizzying. And every year there will be somebody who wasn't prepared, who told themselves they knew it was going to happen, who were ready for it. They got there and it happened. And sometimes that's why they have ambulances nearby. And sometimes it just overwhelms. And whether they collapse or they have a moment that they can't control, they can't get hold of, everyone is there standing by because we all know that we are connected in ways that we don't do anymore. And they're unfamiliar pathways. And one of the things that I was explaining to Maggie last night, because we're working on some coaching stuff together. And by the way, you just wait, everybody. When she's certified, she's going to blow you away. What we don't realize is that we don't do it alone. We never have. The energy we feel when we're exhausted, when we're tired, when we're sad, when it's the reverse, and we're up and we're excited, that's contagious. Every single one of us has had the opportunity. Yes, Freddie, I heard. That's so exciting. Freddie's talking about Chris Churchill, his friend, his lifelong friend, who has written a movie, and he's finally got it done. Yay. You see, this energy, it's contagious. Energy is how we connect. When we have a full moon and people find themselves having emotional stuff, if the magnetic pull of the moon can shift the tides, if we have resonance in the earth that changes, and it changes us, and we wonder why. We all have, there's two parts of us. One is electric and the other is magnetic. That's why it's called an electromagnetic field. And when the two parts of us connect, the thinking and the feeling, it's like zert. And when we connect with each other, it's more zert. We've all gotten onto an elevator, I started to say, and realized, even though nobody's saying anything, that there's a lot of tension in this little box. And we get on and we try not to let it infect us. Or we're having a bad day, the door of the elevator opens, and the energy coming out is a good time. And we get on thinking, all right. And if we're feeling a little claustrophobic and exhausted and we just need space, and the door opens and it's crowded, we don't know what to do. And we hesitate because we're not ready. We're not equipped. We needed another minute. That is how we are alive. That is how we survive. That is how we thrive. The human touch doesn't come from this. The human touch doesn't come from computerized programs and tools. And I don't care how lifelike they are. I don't care that we've given them a name and we've put eyes and expressions on them and we animate them. It's not the same because they are not us. We may thrive because of them. We may progress because of them. We may be frustrated beyond all belief because of them. They are not us. And our usness is important. And we deserve to remember that. One of the things that we were talking about on this last call and a previous one, Maggie and I, was the delicate dance we learn step by step, first alone and then with various dance partners, is how to connect and at the same time maintain our boundaries. I think we have all been in a moment where somebody has come and stood too close to us. And I don't mean it in an ominous way or an overly personal way, but we all have a natural safe space, personal space. If there's only one person in an elevator and you get on and go and stand exactly right beside them, that's weird. And the other person kind of moves away because you've invaded their space without permission. If you got on the elevator and said, "Hi, do you mind if I stand 6 inches from you?" Yes. What is wrong with you? If the elevator door is open and it's really crowded, we all have a tacit understanding that we're all going to forgive the 6-inch, 1-foot rule. And we all say, pardon me, excuse me, sorry. And then we stand there and create our little boundaries. We don't put our arms around each other and start singing unless we got on the elevator at 3 in the morning. And so what we're doing is we're maintaining our perimeter while at the same time deriving benefit from the close proximity of the other people. When we watch these nature programs and we see how animals maintain safe distance, it's territorial imperative. If you come closer, you're invading. I have not given you permission. Make a signal, I'll let you know. When people come knocking at our door without forewarning, and you open the door to say yes, oh, sorry to bother you. Okay, you're still bothering me. Thank you. Thank you for the apology. Why are you here? Oh, well, the reason I'm here, and then they tell you. If somebody comes up to you and says, I'm having a terrible day, can you help me? You feel obliged to say, of course. That is not always the right answer. Sometimes the right answer, if I too am having a bad day, is to say, I'd love to help you later. Right now, I have this. And if they push it and say, well, it doesn't look like you're busy, now they've crossed a line. Now they're pushing the boundary. Now they're telling us that their need is greater than ours. And when we comply, it's because we feel we must. That's not how it's supposed to work. So one of the conversations that I am having with people more and more and more is that it is a delicate dance. And in days gone by, someone would ask, would you like to dance? May I have this dance? Would you care to dance? Dance with me. Before they just grabbed you by the hand and hauled you onto the dance floor. May I cut in if you're already dancing? Instead of just shoving the other person aside. These are actions we take to make it clear that we know the boundaries exist and we are trying to comply however we have a request. And where the work needs to be done is to give ourselves permission to spend more time together, to finesse our skill at spending time together. What needs to be done is self-reminding that two heads can be better than one. Many hands can make the load light. There can be strength in numbers. It's fun to share and compare. It's great to feel somebody has our back. It feels amazing when someone says, oh, I like that. These things matter. And we need it more and more. So I gave you an example of applying the human touch to us. I gave you an example of a story of how we are in social settings, in the elevator. Classic joke is the elevator pitch. Nobody wants to hear an elevator pitch. Nobody wants to step onto an elevator and have somebody come on and say, hey, you ever thought about timeshares? I had a job very briefly, and you'll know why in 2 seconds. I had a job very briefly doing telemarketing. And I just felt I needed the job. I needed the money. And I knew that I could read a script, and I knew that I had a decent voice, and I knew that I could, probably sell. But I hated the premise that I was interrupting somebody's day without permission. And there's a script, and they walk around to make sure you know how to do it. So you do it a few times, and they say, okay, you're good to go. Let's see what you can do. And as soon as the trainer was out of earshot, I would pick up the phone and I would hit the number. And when the phone was answered by a voice, hello, I would say, hi, my name is Abby, and I'm one of those really irritating telemarketers. Should I just hang up now, or do you want to know what I'm selling? Now, what did I accomplish? What I accomplished there was I gave them permission to say no or yes on their terms. The way I did it also poked them a little bit to make them laugh, because I didn't expect a call. Who is it? It's one of those annoying telemarketers. Well, hang up. Actually, they're not that annoying. It's kind of interesting. I want to create conversation. I want to create connection. I want to encourage and trigger communication of the right kind, of the solid kind, of the compassionate, caring kind. Why? I'm not Mother Teresa. I want to do that so that my life is filled with that. I don't want the toxic swirl. I don't want to feel that I have to earn someone's approval. I don't want to feel that I have to qualify to be liked. I want to feel that if I walk in a room, I'm there because I can be, and they're glad. That's what I want. So I do my best to give them the reason to be glad. I walk in and I say, hello, and they all look. And if it's cheers, they all say, Abby. And if it isn't cheers, they all say, hi. Good enough. There, barrier's broken down. Where's the place that has the drinks and the food? And I want to do that to show that I come in peace. I come with no weapons, and I come to come in out of the rain. I come to reset and recharge before I go back out again. The human touch is something we forget we need. And when we do, we forget it at our peril. So I showed you the 5-finger breathing exercise as a way of touch. And I told you that you do it in one direction and then the other. And when you're finished, you then switch hands and you do the other. And if you say, I don't have a whole lot of time, it's 30 seconds. Don't speed it up. Experience it. Feel the touch of the finger against the fingers. And then you're done. That's one of the tools. The other tool is if you close your eyes, ready? You close your eyes and you ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how is my day? On a scale of 1 to 10, how is my day? It's about a 45. And the third thing I want to give you, the third tool, and why does that work? Why does closing your eyes work, by the way? Did you guess? Closing your eyes, taking that small breath before you answer the question, takes away all the distractions. Take that small breath before you answer so you can listen to yourself, to your flow. Because you will tell you. You will tell you how it's going. The third thing I want to tell you is something that somebody very important to me once said. I have since seen it written places. When you wake up in the morning or after an afternoon nap, the first thing you should say when you realize, here we are, is, I made it. Thanks. when you go on a long drive and you reach your destination and you stop the car. We made it. Thanks. Every step along the way. I have the later folder. And by now, I'm sure you all know about the later folder. It's under a pile of papers right now because this weekend is going to be busy and I've got paperwork. The later folder is your opportunity to write things down that have got in your way. Write them down to get them out of here and out of here so that you can get on with your day. At the end of the day, you can look at what they were. Most of the time, those things won't matter as much as they did in the moment. That gave you a free head, free and clear, to just be here now. The other thing that I want to say before I go, I'm at the 45-minute mark, is every time we do these videos, every time I see your comments, every time we are, get ready, every time we have an opportunity to pause and see where we are, say thank you. No matter how weird it is, if we have the time to pause, we're not running downhill with something large right behind us. Pause. We have a moment to pause. Thank you. Look around. Get your bearings. Here we are. And if we make that pause, we have never been anywhere quite the way we are here right now. So from me to you, thank you. Here we are. And this wouldn't work without you. Without you, it would be a rehearsal. So be good to you. I have a kind of an interesting weekend up ahead. It's been a long time coming, and I'm ready-ish. So I will think of you fleetingly on Sunday, and I will be back on Tuesday to tell you how it went. I hope in the meantime, you are good to you. You do take the time to tell yourself you're awesome and thank you. And remember to hug your loved ones because they deserve it. So keep watching these videos. Keep giving me your comments. Keep thinking about the things that we can keep doing together. And oh, by the way, this whole thing, this video thing, what are you saying, Freddie? Christmas falls on a Thursday this year. Any chance you'd make a holiday video dressed as Merry Christmas? Oh, Freddie. Oh, Freddie, I would love that more than anything. However, that moment has passed because while I have that costume, the Merry Christmas costume was not mine to own. What I will do is post the picture. I might even sing Jingle Bells. Who knows? In any case, thank you all. And, in show business, we don't say good luck, we say break a leg. I'm not quite sure why we say break a leg because I've almost done that a couple of times while walking onto a stage. In any case, think of me Sunday afternoon. Raise a glass of whatever. And I'll let you know how it went. Bye-bye.